Hey, it's Key Creator Studio, Master Draw in Japan. Just make a point to draw every day. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about the line of action and also the your quality of line. Okay. Um, I noticed that sometimes people like when they're beginners, when they want to they want to draw a figure or something like that, they might have a tendency like to do something like they'll just kind of like they'll go down like one side like this, and then they try to go on the side like that, and then you know they'll actually try to. It's almost like they're tracing out the body or something like that, right? Which I don't really recommend if you are a beginner at drawing, because if you go down like listen, if this is gonna be the head, and I draw like this part, and then I'm gonna draw like this part over here, and then I'm gonna try to connect that, and put a neck here or whatever. Now, if your eye is not really trained to see things in volumes just yet, you really need to kind of like calibrate your hand and your eye and your mind together to see things as a whole. So instead of like doing that, try to see things like as a whole shape. You know what I mean? As a whole volume like that, because this, even though I've been doing this for a long time, I can still kind of I still can, you know, make a circle, roughly. But if if someone is not so experienced, there's a chance that what you have on one side is not going to match on the other side. Now another thing, like you notice, like when I draw, I draw like with my arm, right? Like this, right? And this is like one of my favorite exercises, like to warm up. Is like to draw circles, so that way my arm. Now, sometimes I hold it like this, sometimes I hold it like that, but the main thing is that I am practicing getting my arm to move like in a sweeping motion. Okay, this kind of motion. Okay, again, you don't want this kind of thing. When you're trying to lay down the gesture or like to lay down your initial volumes. Okay, so all right. So another thing is I don't know if I should get another pencil. Hold on, let me get another pencil. One second. Even though I like this one, I'm worried it's not showing up the way I want it to show up. Oh boy. Let's see. Okay. Here we go. All right, this is better. This is usually my most favorite pencil. Actually, this is my Blackwing Pearl pencil, which is failing me right now. All right. Okay. All right. So as I was saying, yeah. So when I'm drawing, you know, I'm practicing getting my hand to work like in this sweeping kind of motion. Okay. All right. So the other thing is, so this sweeping motion that I'm talking about is it's very much like we're practicing like doing like an arc. You see that, right? And when you have like an arc, arcs and circles tend to lead the eye in a very comfortable and organic way, right? If I draw like a circle, again, I'm not experienced. Imagine I'm not experienced, and I try to draw a circle, and I kind of do like that, and then I can do something, like that. So even though our eyes are gonna go around it, it's kind of, you know, it's unconfident, it's shaky. It doesn't really have like a flow, right? But but if I do something like that, where it's it's nice, it's balanced, it's even on all sides, right? There's no break anywhere, right? There's no break. No break. So you read it as a full volume, because you have to keep in mind, what you're putting down on page is information for the eye of your audience, and the kind of line that you put down has a great impact in terms of how they interpret that information. So if you have something like like this, people are going to read that as shaky, and their eye actually is going to pick up all this shaky information, and we don't want that, right? We want our audience's eye to transition from one point to another point, right? From one point to another point. So if I do the circle again like that, so your eyes go around and around like that, so it's very clear. If I do like an arc like this, then your eye is going to sweep down here like that. You see? If I do maybe like a curved line like that, your eye is going to go like this, right? If I do a kind of an S curve kind of thing, right? Your audience's eye is going to flow like this. Okay, so you have to be careful about the quality of the line, and like if like the kind of like the smoothness that you have in your line. Okay, so so we you don't want to do you know this kind of thing. No, okay, and you don't want to go. You don't want to go back and forth. Never go back and forth. Okay, never go back and forth. That is definitely no. That's really like really unconfident, kind of like tracing sort of thing. Okay, when I say tracing, like not literally tracing like paper over the image, but like tracing like with your eyes in a way. Okay, so don't do that. So this is gonna lead me to another thing I wanted to talk about, which is line of action, right? So generally, I've spoken to about this before. It's like the line of action generally is a tool to help our audience's eye go from one point to another point, right? It is not the gesture. It is not the figure. It is not the figure, and it's not the gesture. It's just something to help support the gesture or to support the figure. It's almost like a special effect in a way, right? Like special effects or like in movies, basically like to like augment the experience, right? You can think of like the line of action as sort of something like that, right? So, so if I have this line of action like this, and let's say I have a female kind of like this. Okay, I'm gonna put her head down this way, actually. And let's see. I'll put her just a quick gesture kind of thing. So you can see that I hope you guys can see this. Okay. Like everything on this, I'll put two little eyes here so you guys can get some sort of image here. Okay. Okay. So everything that's on this line here is supporting this leaning over kind of gesture that I have going on here, right? Now this is very exaggerated, um, but it is communicating something, you know. And it's almost like I have like a graphic shape here. It's almost like I have like a curve and a straight sort of thing. So that's kind of interesting, right? So again, you want to keep in mind that, you know, this line of action that I have, and this is very exaggerated, but I did this really just to help create an experience so that your eye goes like that. Okay. So now it's not what the gesture is. You know, the real gesture is that, you know, this female is kind of like really like leaning over on one side and like looking down like that. Okay, so that's what we have going on here. Okay. Um, Another one you can have is, all right. So let me do like a S, like an S curve kind of thing, right? So this same thing, you know, if you want to take this as a line of action, you know, I could have a female kind of like this, foot here. You know what? And I'll even put foot like that. Body like that. Put the head like that. Okay. And I guess I'll make it another female. So even though I have um, this figure, you know, doing this with her hands and her feet or whatever, you do have like this S kind of movement because you can feel like she's pushing back, and then she's like pushing, her head is pushing out like that. All right. I guess I'll put her head looking this way, you know, just for make it simple. Nah, nah. Excuse me. Let me say the Japanese rejoinders there. Okay, but can you see that, right? So now again, I'm just doing that, this S curve here, to help support the gesture that I have here. That is, you know, again, this S curve is not the gesture. It is not the gesture at all. It's just something to help me, you know, give the feeling of like this push, and also to, you know, make our audience's eye flow. You know, this is one experience, right? You could feel like how her weight is being distributed, you know, like that. And then, you know, this one is another kind of experience. You can see how weight's being distributed like that. Okay. All right. So I want you to just to keep in mind, like when you draw, okay, you know, again, you don't want to make short lines. You know, try to make your lines like sweeping as much as possible. Okay. Right. You know, and do not stay on the page and go like 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 back and forth, like you're trying like to like rub trace your understanding of the form. Do not do that. You know, when you draw, think of things as a full volume. Every line that you do, every line that you do is an idea. Every line you do is an idea. Think about that. Okay, I'll leave it at that. But you know, because that's really an important key in terms of drawing successfully. Okay. Okay. All right. I will see you guys again. I'll probably touch on this topic again in the future. All right. See you next time. Bye bye.